If you've been watching the previous two videos where we've drawn a cat, transferred it from a photograph onto a sheet of watercolour paper, then we've painted it, you may want to follow this video to see how I then go and embellish it. The choice of embellishment is entirely yours, but I've just grabbed a few items that I had and sketched on top. So let's have a look and then you can get your own ideas. Hi, I'm Jackie Smurden. I'm in Dunnock Studio in the heart of Norfolk, UK. It's been a really miserable day today, so I've spent most of the day painting a lovely cat and enjoying the process. I believe anyone can learn to paint and draw. You just need the will to try and a bit of support, and that's what I'm here for. So let's get into it. Hello and welcome back if this is your third video on this subject. And if you haven't seen the previous two videos, the first one is how to transfer the image from a small photograph onto a nice piece of watercolour paper. And the second one is how to paint it in my style. The third one, which I've decided to carry on with, is how to embellish it. So I've grabbed some watercolour pencils. Posca pen is hiding in there. I did mention white ink earlier, but I thought I didn't want to make it too obvious on this picture. So I've got a Posca pen, and I've also got a white Chinese white watercolour pencil. This is a Derwent Chinese white. And then I've had a scribble over the original colours that I had on the painting to start with. And I can see that they're giving me enough texture for me to not overdo it. I think I quite like the Posca pen, gives a nice sort of strong line to start with, which then disappears. Whoops, there you go. Might get some blobs. So Posca pen possibly, they are notoriously difficult. So I haven't got my reference photo, but I actually think it's probably a good idea not to have it now. So you could just start off by putting in, let's put in a few of these. So we're adding the whiskers, and this area is quite dark. I put some lines in earlier that were dark lines. So I'm sort of going roughly in the same area as they were. Not going to do too many with this pen. I'm not following exactly where the last lines were, sort of in the general area. So despite this being an acrylic pen, it's not leaving much of a trace. So let's try with the Chinese white pencil. This has been sharpened to a nice point, so I'm just trying to feel for it. Is it working? Yep, not too bad. Doesn't leave such a strong mark, but sometimes that's much better. Put a few more in here. I might move them to suggest where the whiskers are going to suit painting rather than where they actually are. Could always go back in. Let's put some nice big ones over here. So that Chinese white watercolour pencil is actually doing a pretty good job. If you haven't got watercolour pencils, don't worry. If you've got any gel pens or something similar, and I have got a gel pen here, let's just have a look at what that does. Sometimes these are really good and sometimes not so good. So I'm getting some reasonable marks there. But it's sort of, for me, it leaves a rollerball line in the middle. It's like a gap. So I'm not convinced they're the best pens. I probably haven't got the best pen in the world. Let's just put a couple of those in. So we've got 3 different pens going on here now. There we go. That's probably way too much, so we'll stop there. So we've got some white marks on. Could have put them on last, but I wanted to see what they looked like. So I've got a raw sienna pencil, again Derwent watercolour pencil. There's also other sorts of pencils. You may have a load of colouring pencils, like this one is Faber-Castell. It's a copper. Now I'm not going to use it on this picture, but it's a nice sort of lovely neutral colour in a way. It's not that far off of raw sienna, it's just a bit darker and it's got a sheen. So don't go out and buy special pencils, just go and have a little look, see what you've got, because you might have some pencils that are just sitting around waiting for you to get them out and play with them. So I've got lots of lines going on in this part of the painting. So this sort of shading, well, not really shading, but adding some lines with a pencil just adds a finer touch to some areas of suggested fur. It may not be what you want, but it's worth just trying. Adding in some fine lines. Remember, this is watercolour, so if it really goes horribly wrong, you can lift it off with a brush fairly well. Some watercolour pencils are very strong and difficult to lift, so just test them first if you're not sure. So I've got a little bit of movement going on now. Let's have a little look on this nose. So we could just lift some of the shape of the nose a little bit around here. So I can add a little bit of opaque colour. I'll switch to a darker one now. This is a different brand. This is Blue Acorn. I really like these. They're watercolour pencils again. They're not the brand that I know, like Derwent, but I've had these a while and actually they're really soft. They do blur away if you want them to. Just try and keep gestural lines. So they're a little bit darker, these ones. Then I've got a nice, like a violet colour here, which is Blue Acorn one as well. So we could add a little bit more depth to the fur where it's darker. The previous video shows the colour choices for these lovely darks. There's no black in here, as in a tube of black. The colours are dark violets and rich textured Daniel Smith colours. So it's one of those things, they're really lovely to use, but you don't have to have those. You can have your own watercolours, pick your own colours. It really isn't a problem. You just use what you have. So just adding some of this purple into this area here because it looks really quite nice. Being a pencil, you can add some lovely little marks, and they're not too strong. I might add a little bit of shadow with this violet underneath this nostril, around here a little bit. Try not to overdo it, but that is a shadow area there. Just bring that round here a little bit. So we can just add some gentle marks. Coming around that corner, I've got a lovely sky blue colour. Well, is there blue in there? If you look at my previous video, you'll think, well, there's no blue in there. But actually, when you look at where the colours are split out of the moon glow, it's definitely a pale blue. So I can utilise that and highlight it with a blue pencil. Just some little marks just to bring out that blue, because it is lovely. This helps to give this fur a little bit of life. I wasn't sure whether I was going to go any further with this painting, and it is actually a commission. And I thought, well, do you know, I love drawing, I've always drawn, and this sort of came as, it seemed to suggest that it just needed a little bit of doodling on it, but not, I usually do dark fine liners, the waterproof fine liners, and this one seemed to be telling me it needed loads of colour. So we're going in with the colour, guys, and I'm just having fun. As I say, I've no longer got the reference in front of me. This is me just being artistic, having some fun with it, putting the colour where I think it needs to go to balance the picture. Can add some blues down here. So why am I putting blues down there? There's no dark there. Well, if there's only blue here and there's no blue elsewhere in the picture, it sort of looks like it's a little bit isolated. So sometimes it's a good idea to pop the colours all around your painting so they're in there somewhere doing something. This is a very subtle blue, so it's not going to overwhelm anything. Really liking how this is coming together. Some of these lines you really can't even see. Then when you go back in and look as an overall picture, they're all doing a little job. Remember that the more layers you put on, the less the paper underneath can show through. So be careful not to cover everything up with this layer. Keep it just dots and dashes, just to bring a bit of depth into here. A little bit more shadow, a bit of cross hatching, good old drawing technique there. What about the eyes? Well, we could use that white pencil again, just add maybe a subtle shine in the eye. That's quite nice. Even you could have a little bit on the eyelid just to catch it there, maybe there. Equally, you can use, this is an imperial purple, let's see what that looks like, just to bring a bit of depth to under the eye there. The purple colour is, as you can see, a direct opposite to this greeny yellow inside the eye. So it's going to lift that colour so that the eye is almost going to shimmer. So colour choices do really make a huge impact on your paintings. So that's really looking lovely. Let's pop that colour somewhere else. Maybe a couple of dots of it down here. Shadow in here. I love this bit here with the paint, it looks absolutely amazing. I'm now thinking that this eye just needs to be just ever so gently brought in a little bit at the back, sorry, at the bottom, just darkening that off. So I'm getting rid of a little bit of that green there, that's nice. Oh, I love it, love it. Let's put some of the dark purple at the top of the iris. Again, that's going to help set that eye colour off. Now we've got some magic happening in those colours. If you've lost any highlights, like the nose is a bit flat this side, add some of that white in. You can also add a completely opposite colour of something in, like pink, just to jazz things up a bit. Let's put some pink in this ear. We have got pinks in the ears. This is a Daniel Smith colour. If you look on the previous video, I've given them all names. Let's just let that pink overlap in a few places. Oh, the pink's lovely. Oh yes, look at this. How to have fun with watercolours and get the pencils out. Wow. There's no stopping me now. Got to be careful not to overdo this. Right. Loving that. I think I could do just a little bit more shadow down the side of the nose there. So I'll go back to the pale blue because that's a really lovely colour. Rather than going with a dark, let's just build that in a little bit more. I wonder how many of you have got watercolour pencils that you've never used. You're not sure what to do with them. Well, this is a great first effort, isn't it? Just doodle over a watercolour. If you're not sure about it yet and you're a bit scared, get a sketch out that didn't really work. Just doodle over it. See what you can create with it. For me, it's working really well at bringing this sketch to life, giving it a bit of character. And this cat is definitely a character. Some blue is going to be nice, I think. Getting bolder as we go through. Just put some some over the edges of this. It's a little bit hard. Doodle away. Don't overthink this, just have some fun. Let's put some more pink in because I like the pink. Get the pink in. His ears are showing light through them. Dot that around in a few places, and with that in mind I shall do my signature in pink because I can. There we go. That I think is complete. I'm going to pop him back into his mount and we'll have another look at him. Okay, here's the finished picture as far as I'm going to take it with the watercolour, and I'm quite pleased with that. If you rewind the video and compare it with the very beginning, you may prefer that look where it's very, very soft. There's just a hint of detail around the eyes. It's really your choice as to how far you go in the detail of any painting and when you want to stop and check it in and think, no, I'm done. So there's no right or wrong. I've gone quite detailed. Now he's in his mount, he does look quite nice. I like my colour choices. I'll definitely happily do those again. Yellow green ended up more raw sienna and yellow green really, but it all works together. It's quite subtle, and I hope you enjoyed that. Have a go at painting your own pet or someone's pet. Don't worry if it doesn't work out first time, just enjoy it. You will learn loads, and see you on the next video. Bye for now. Ta-da! Here's Charlie, and he's going to go to his owner this week, and I do hope she likes him. But it's a personal impression of him that I can see when I got the photo, and I have to stick to my interpretation because that's me coming out in this picture. You might have watched this and thought, no, I wouldn't use those colours. No, Jackie, what are you doing? Well, if you're thinking that way, that means you know more than you know, and you need to get on and do it. So change the colours to suit yourself and go for it. Try painting an animal, a pet, preferably someone that you know and love, and you can then gift it to them. Have fun, happy painting, drawing, copying, sketching, everything you need to do to create some art. Take care, see you on the next video. Bye for now.